We made it. This is the last Sunday of the year. In fact, the last Sunday of the decade. We made it. And it's been an incredible year. We started preview service January 13th of this year. We're a church plant, just in case you don't know. We started January 13th with a preview service, and on Easter, April 21st, we kicked off our weekly services. And it's been an amazing journey. Since that time, we've seen people commit to Christ, people that have never committed to Christ. They committed for the first time in their lives. They placed their trust in Jesus for the first time. And then there are people that have recommitted. There were, I believe, 11 people who followed Jesus to the point of baptism this year. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And we've watched, witnessed, and been a part of a multicultural community that have come together to represent the kingdom of God. And God has brought us all together to this point where we are today. And for that, we are so grateful. And we thank God for it. There's so many people that made that possible. Today's going to be kind of unique because we're going to hear from some of our leaders. And so at this time, I'm going to call them up. Cameron, you know, come on up. Come on up. Let's give them a hand. Introduce in a moment. But you're going to hear from them, and they're going to talk to you about what God has done in their lives and through their lives in the ministries that they serve. And again, it's going to be amazing. We have several leaders that are not on the platform, but they were instrumental. Keisha Jones, she's actually working with like kids. We have Eric Gonzalez, who led our worship. Amazing. Thank you, Eric. He's out reading books about how to be a great dad. Just kidding. No, but he's out. And again, our leadership team, Belinda Jones, providing counsel and leadership, as well as Dan Talmadge. Dan is here. I don't think Belinda's here. Dan, where's Dan? He's on security. He's working. Yeah, so that's awesome. And again, so many people made where we are today possible. And again, we're going to hear from each and every one of them. Before we dive into hearing, our celebrations and hearing our talk, we want to have a little fun. We have a couple of fun facts that basically we're going to put on the screen, and then what I want you to do is try to guess. You can just shout it out who you believe that fun fact goes with. So we're playing a game real quick of guess who. All right, just shout it out. All right, the first fact is this. I once nearly bumped into Oprah as she walked out of a restaurant in Chicago. Now, which one of these leaders? I heard Brendan. Oh, yeah. They know Brendan. They know him. All right. I love art and going to the DIA. Trick question. Oh. Actually, it's Makisha. Yeah, and she's not on the stage, so it's a little It's okay. I'm the self-proclaimed local expert of the sport of scouting. As soon as I said the self-proclaimed expert, people knew that it was Cameron. All right. I played on a varsity soccer team.
Young, Chen.
It is, I heard everybody. It's Marsha. Yeah, and by process of elimination, I was featured in Frozen 2 as subject material. royalties because they have not responded yet to me. But really, my fun fact is that in my youth, I was a part of a singing group. And as a part of that singing group, I was really shy. I remember actually keeping my head down because I was so afraid. And people used to laugh because they would say, "Who was singing like this?" Because I was so afraid of looking at the audience. But by the grace of God, I've grown, and I'm not as afraid to grab a mic right now. So that's good. We shared all that information really just to let you all know that we are real people. We're real people connected to a real God to experience real life. That's who we are, and I'm so grateful for this amazing team. As I mentioned earlier, that this year has been really amazing. And one thing that was recurring that I continue to hear about this community is that we are a welcoming community. And I've heard that from various people. They're just sharing from different perspectives that this place is a place of welcome. And it's amazing that as a result of this community, I've been able to connect with people from different backgrounds and also different faiths, different parts of their journey regarding their faith. One particular instance is a young person, a gentleman who basically describes himself, identifies as an atheist. And he's still questioning if God exists. And the beautiful part of this is that he found something that was authentic and attractive about this community. And he has been following, or been attending for a while now. And I think, again, that's pretty amazing to have someone who's questioning if God exists, but they still find community. In fact, what he said, he believes in those that believe. Right now, we're kind of like a bridge for him. And he's looking to us, and we are, again, kind of like a visible sign of the invisible God. And I think, again, that's amazing. It kind of reminds me of the scripture, and I'm going to read the scripture real quick, and then we'll move forward. The scripture in John, Jesus said this. He said, "I've come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness." And then he says this, "If anyone hears my words but does not keep them," this is Jesus, the one we say we follow, "I do not judge that person. For I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world." And we're here not to connect people to rules or rituals, but we're here to connect people to a person. And that person is Jesus. And he said, even if someone does not receive my words, now there's a judgment that is coming, but he said, if anybody doesn't receive my words, he said, I don't judge them. He said, because I didn't come to judge, I came to save the world. And that's amazing, to be a community that is welcoming, where people from wherever they are can still journey while they're trying to figure it out. And for me personally, as I prepare to close, this year my world has been rocked. As many of you know, I had several deaths in the family. My mother, my father-in-law. There was physical and mental attacks, challenges personally with my children, my family, my extended family, and there were it was some challenging times this year. And to be honest, there were times where I was completely just spent. I had no strength at all. And it was out of duty and will and fight that I kept going. But I'm so grateful one, for an amazing community, being connected to an amazing community that supported me in prayer, that supported our family in prayer. And I'm not the type of guy that honestly like to be vulnerable at all. But there were some weak moments this year. But then I found this truth, that in my weakness, Jesus showed his strength. He was strong and mighty in my weakness. And I'm grateful to God as a result of that. There's a songwriter, Andre Crouch. He's a late great gospel artist. And he mentioned through it all, he said, I've learned to trust in Jesus. And I've learned to trust in God. And I've learned to depend on his word. And that's what I've learned this year. As a result of this, I really believe that I've become a more compassionate leader, and as well as just more patient, understanding people are going through many challenges, and we have to see that and understand that and continue to pray for each other. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell, and now we're going to hear from Marcia, Ministry Director.
Thanks, Donner. As ministry director, I often get asked what that means, and if you have a half hour, we can talk about what all that covers. There's a large umbrella there, but I'm going to highlight two of those for you and kind of share some things that have been happening. One of those is our logistics team. And when I stepped into this position, I did not realize how connected I would be to our logistics team. It is security, it is setup, tear down, it is your parking lot greeters, and that crew has come early, stayed late. It's an incredible group of currently guys, but there's openings. Out there in the rain, out there in the cold, they have been Jesus to me, they have been Jesus to everyone who walks in our doors, and it's been incredible to work with them. Another piece of that umbrella has been our middle and high school students. And if you have been here any other week, you will hear it almost every week, how incredible they are. There's part of our crew. We have about 15 teens on average any given week that go for teaching on Sunday morning. We have a small group table at our community groups for them, discipleship groups. We've started a parenting life students monthly meetup. It has been super exciting to watch that grow and from nothing and build. Our leaders, some of them are new to youth ministry, and getting to see them and be empowered and step up and grow in that position has also been incredible. For me personally, I stepped into this position early in the year, very excited about what God was doing in our church, what he was going to do in my life and our family's life as we stepped in. Part of that, though, has also been stepping into a lot of things I have not done in a really long time. Some things I have never done, and some things I've been taught but not tried. So for me, this year has been a journey of trust. It's been a journey of, let me back up a moment. I think one of the biggest hurdles I've overcome or been working on, is being afraid of not being able to do it perfect, stepping into things knowing that there's going to be opportunities for improvement. And that, I think in the past, has held me back from moving forward. And I, even this year, different times, have found myself stuck before stepping into something I wasn't sure I could do. And in doing that, I've learned three things. One, often I could do more than I thought, right? I think that's a general rule. But more than that, I have learned his grace being sufficient for the areas that I'm still working on, and his strength coming through and making things happen that I could not imagine. His grace, and then his strength making him coming through in a time of, here's my laundry list today. Not laundry list, here's my list to make Saturday's event be incredible, right? And I'm going to get to 3 of them. So the prayer that morning is, Lord, you tell me which 3, because I can't see the future. And he has followed through and been faithful to me every single time. The right phone call from the right person. He's worked through many of you to be there as we all work together to further the church, further his kingdom. And as broken, learning people, he has been faithful over and over. And that's been the incredible part of the journey for me. Bless you.
All right. Next, Brendan John, associate pastor.
My name's Brendan, and if we haven't met before, and our journey, my wife Kimberly and my son Isaac and that's what I say we, our journey to Life Church this year spans literal thousands of miles. So we moved here from out of state in March after a few phone conversations with Don Earl and then coming to actually visit a launch team gathering. So before the church was even live on Sunday mornings, we got to come and visit. And what we saw forming, even at that early stage, made us really believe that God was leading us to be a part of planting Life Church Auburn Hills. We believed in the vision. We believed very deeply that what God was doing here to bring people together across different ethnic backgrounds, even across national backgrounds, to have people here from literally all countries, or so for so many countries on earth, to come and to gather together, to worship Jesus, to be in community with each other, and then to send out people to plant more churches, to send missionaries around the world. We heard that vision, we were like, yeah, we want to be a part of that. That sounds great. So we came full of excitement for what could be, but we also came with some fear. Because on paper, everything sounded amazing, but we also knew we were going to need to lean a lot on this church for just our own community. We were going to need people to love us and to care for our family, as we were new here to the area. And so we were fearful. We'd made a move before, and we were wondering, will people accept us? Will we be included? Will people love us and care for us? And I think that's a journey that many of you have also taken here to Life Church Auburn Hills, because this is a new family that God is bringing together. And so I bet a lot of you are here and you have wondered that same question. Like, if I put myself out there, will I be accepted for who I am? Will I be included? One of my favorite verses in Scripture, and also one that just challenges me repeatedly, is Jesus' words to his disciples in John. He says this to them, "As I have loved you, so you must love one another. And by this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Man, it's like you can put on an amazing worship service. You could have the best potluck lunches, but people are going to know me by the way that you love each other. And so I've always been just, like, the stakes of that verse are always so high to me. I'm like, and I wonder, like, is Life Church Auburn Hills, will we be that kind of church? That people experience our love for one another and say, there's Jesus in that. There's something different in that. So that's something that just drives me and motivates me. It's something that I desperately want to see here at Life Church Auburn Hills. Because it's one thing to sit next to each other on Sunday morning, right? And to worship together, to sing together, but it's another to sit with each other across the dinner table, or to sit with someone in their hospital room. Like, that's where we actually see the love that we have for one another, showing up for one another. And for me this year, what's been so exciting is I have seen the seeds of that love all over the place. I'll just share personally, I have experienced it. I experience it every time my son walks in the door to this church with a giant grin on his face, because he knows that all sorts of people are going to scoop him up. They're going to give him big kisses and love on him. And that just, as a parent, that just fills me with so much joy. You all have invited us into your homes. You've invited us to your kids' birthday parties. So I have seen it just on a personal level. I have seen this community open up and embrace us. I've also been at moments I've had to readjust expectations because relationships take time to grow. So I've been disappointed. I've felt lonely. That's just to be honest with you, at moments in this past year. And I've even, in myself, I've had to realize my own fear of reaching out and inviting other people into my life. Like, I have sat on a text message that I meant to send to someone, inviting them over, because just that fear of like, oh, what if they don't receive it? What if they don't say yes? So I've even just wrestled with that as a person. But what I want to really celebrate this year, well, first just acknowledge that coming into a new place, a lot of us, we're trying to build new relationships, and some of us might have shared in those same disappointments, wondering like, man, I kind of imagined that I have, deeper relationships at this point, or I just pictured it a little bit differently, and I just want to say, hang in there. We're getting there. We're on the way. We're on the path. But I want to celebrate, for sure, the things that have already been happening this year. So I want to celebrate the 12 people who led one of our community groups this year. Because leading a community group, putting yourself out there like that is a risk. Because you're saying, hey, I'm a leader, and I'm going to create space for you to be vulnerable, to read the Bible together. I don't know what someone's going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. I might offend somebody. But I just want to honor those folks, the 12 people who led a community group this year. I want to honor the 7 people who serve on our prayer team, who make themselves available to pray for you every single Sunday, and then also pray for you during the week. And I also want to honor the people who have come forward for prayer, because even that is a risk, to say, hey, I don't know you. You might be a stranger, but I'm going to open up my life to you right now and trust that God is going to minister to me through you. So I want to honor those people who have prayed for and others who have come forward for prayer. I want to celebrate the group that goes out to lunch after church on Sundays. Man, that's a simple thing, right? Like, let's go out to lunch together. But like across the lunch table, friendships are starting to grow. And I always tell that crew, this is so important to our church. Like, we need to spend time together, and food is a way that we connect. So I just want to honor that group. And then I also just want to honor each of you and celebrate each of you who have made an invitation this year. I know so many of you have done it. You have sent the text. You have made the invitation to someone in our church to come over for a meal, to get coffee, someone you didn't know before. And especially you've done that for people who don't look like you. You maybe done that for people who don't share your language, so you've been a little nervous, like, what are we going to talk about? And I just want to celebrate that is part of the DNA of this church. So many of you have made those invitations. And so I want to celebrate that. Like, I see the love of Jesus in you, in the way that you love each other, and I want to call us to go deeper and higher in that in 2020.
Thank you. And last but not least, the self-proclaimed sculpture master. Cameron under that.
There's a lot of context missing for Scouching. I don't know if they showed a picture of Scouching. Okay. Now, see, what you can't see very well is underneath the couch are skis. They're like little snowboards. And what you also can't tell from that photo is that that's at the top of a hill. And we're about to ride that couch down the hill. And I've been doing this for years. In fact, it's fun because the person who introduced me to Scouching is here today. All right, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I'm still the top on Scouching, just in case anyone wants to challenge me. Again, my name's Cam Underdown, in case we haven't met. And just in case this is your first time here, I'm always sensitive to people who this is their first time here, because it was 13 years ago. You could not have paid me enough money to walk into a church at all. I think that's what's also fun about today. There's a lot of people here today, for some reason, who knew me when I was a very self-proclaimed expert on atheism and why God wasn't real and why Jesus was was fake and all sorts of different things that I believed at that time. And so it's a little bit different to be up here at a church welcoming people. In fact, helping start a church. And that's why today is so important. It's why it's different. In case this is your first time here, we don't do this every day. We don't do this every Sunday. We've been on this journey together, literally. We had not had a church service. This group of people had not gathered in this fashion until 2019. And that's just really miraculous to think about. People who did not know one another, people who had all sorts of different lives. Because this community became established, have now intersected. Again, as Brendan was saying, new friendships have gotten to take root, and we're seeing God do some really incredible things with those. I myself have worn a lot of hats. I have had a lot of different jobs with regards to this church plant. One of them is leading our tech team, our portability teams, getting the trailer, getting all the stuff that transforms a school into a church for a few hours and then back into a school at the end of the day. Those are the things I've been focusing on. I'm not particularly great at those. I've definitely felt my own deficiencies this year, and it's been amazing the fact that so many different people have rallied around not only this mission, but I'll just speak very personally, around me. Okay? Because I have felt, again, so deficient at so many times. I don't know what lights we should pick. I don't know what speakers we should have. I never purchased a trailer before. Every step of the way, every little question, there has been someone who stood up and said, "I'll help with that. Oh, actually, I know how to do that. Oh, actually, you should talk to this person. Oh, don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. Don't worry." That spirit has made this place such an incredible place. It's just filled with incredible, servant-hearted people. And my greatest fear about starting a church, okay, because, again, as an atheist before, it took a lot for me to actually say, you know what? I believe in God, and not only do I believe in God, but I believe that Jesus, this man who walked 2,000 years ago on earth, is God, and that he died, and that he came back to life. It took a lot for me to get to a place where I could say that. Not only say it, but now say it to somebody else. Not just say it to myself, say it to somebody else, and actually make a whole life out of saying it to other people. All right? It took a lot to get there. But I will say, probably, I've been following Jesus now for about 13 years. And somewhere around the middle point, I began to really doubt that a church could really help people or a person know who Jesus really is. I began to doubt its power, just being honest. And so, as I felt God and other people ask, I definitely felt other people ask, God and I'll ask for sure. He said, "Hey, would you help me start this church?" There was a lot of doubt in me. It's like, man, I don't want to do that. I kind of carved out this whole other life. A lot of people here know me from Oakland University, where I got to carve out this whole other life. Definitely still helping introduce people to Jesus, but doing it in really sometimes strange, creative, very different ways that weren't, and we didn't gather all the time. We didn't have so many different rhythms. When I was first asked, it was really, really hard for me to say yes and to believe that this was going to be worth it, that this was going to be effective, that this community was going to be one, that was going to help people really understand who Jesus is and follow him. And again, I've been really wonderfully blessed and surprised that this community has been exactly that. I had so many friends from so many different backgrounds and different places. Again, I used to doubt that any church, all of them could come and feel welcomed and feel at home and feel like it was for them. I doubted that. I was told often that the hope was that, you start a bunch of different churches for all these different kind of people, and that hopefully one of your friends over here likes one of them, and then great, then they're over there. And I was like, okay, yeah, there's some value in that, but I just had this wish inside that anyone I knew that I met at any different point in my life, maybe my friends from before I started following Jesus, could come be a part of this and say, I feel welcome here. And there was one day this year where I was back at the tech table, and that happened. I looked, and there were 5 people back there, friends that I'd met from all different places in life, who, honestly, I probably couldn't have gotten all of them at my house for one occasion. We're all here serving around the same mission. And it blew me away. And it humbled me. And I started to say, oh my gosh, what a fool I've been to think that it could just happen with me. This place, this welcoming community, did something that I've been dreaming of, made it possible for all these different people to come together, to serve together, and to position each one of us to see what is God doing in our lives and what does Jesus want to do with us right now. And it was just absolutely incredible. I've been so grateful for this community.
All right. Thank you all. What you heard today is only a portion of what God has been doing, and it doesn't even compare to what God is going to do. As we believe and trust God for 2020. I want to share this real quick. I heard this, someone was teaching on this at a conference a couple of years ago, and I think it's really fitting for us right now, because you heard in every testimony about how God used broken people, because some way, somehow, we're all broken in various areas. There is this Japanese art form, it's called kintsugi, and let's put up the picture there. Basically, in a nutshell, what it does is bring out the beauty out of brokenness. The story behind it is this emperor broke a vessel that he loved, and he sent it out to have it repaired. And first it came back with staples or whatever, or something just weird. And then what happened, he brought it to some other people, and what they did was use this lacquer, this golden lacquer, to mend the vessel back together. And I said, this right here is just right for what God does to our lives. What God does to broken people with His grace. He takes the broken and makes it beautiful. Where you still see the brokenness, but you also see the beauty in His authenticity. And that's us. And that's what God wants to do for each and every one of you who's willing to trust Him. So as we close, our call to action today, I got a couple of items here. The first one,